dispensing optician. I qualified in 1981, which was a very long time ago. Most of my career has been spent with independent opticians. I graduated into management and I currently manage an independent practice in Hunstanton in Norfolk. And many years ago, a friend of mine kept on and on at me that I should do the low vision course. And I really put it off because I thought, oh, now I've got to go back to learning all these optical formulas and the optics of a telescope. And I thought, I can't possibly do that anymore. However, I gave in the end and I did do it. It was the correspondence low vision honours course run by Abdo. And I obviously succeeded and I qualified in low vision in 2010. And then at the time I was working with a friend and colleague in King's Lynn, and she wanted to hand over the clinic, and she said, well, would I like to take it over? So I thought, well, you've done the course, why not? Which I did. And initially I thought, well, oh, I'm going to be all on my own because low vision is a little bit solitary. But she told me that she'd only be on the end of the phone if I got stuck, so that was fine. So I've been at King's Lynn Hospital now for about 10 years, and I run a whole day low vision clinic there, and also I set up a clinic in Fakenham at a medical practitioner's sort of GP surgery, and I go there alternate Fridays. From my point of view, Norfolk's quite a rural county, lots of elderly folk, and placing the clinic in Fakenham was ideal because it's halfway between Norwich and King's Lynn. So it takes in a lot of the retired folks from the north of the county. We do have a hospital at Cromer on the Norfolk coast, and for many people it's easier to drop down to Fakenham than it is to go into the busy Norwich hospital, so that's helped. So that's where I am at the moment. I split my time between dispensing and low vision.
Excellent, excellent, excellent. Well, one of the subjects that I wanted to talk to you about was maybe sort of the low vision clinics. I've got a few of the questions about how people might find out about these sort of things and so on. But could you just explain to me, because obviously I've been involved in the industry for a number of years now, and it seems to be a constant thing that you'll come across where people may not know necessarily, say, the benefits of going to something like a low vision clinic and meeting with somebody like yourself. So could you just give us a sort of just a rough outline of sort of the benefits to a patient of visiting a low vision clinic, sort of what they would get from it?
Yeah, I think you've got to think that a low vision assessment is quite different from a normal eye exam that you'd have at the high street opticians. And one of the ophthalmologists at the hospital kindly said, oh, when we've all given up, we pass everyone on to Annette. Well, that was very flattering. But basically, patient goes to the optician, normally you get a nice shiny new pair of specs and that solves your problem. For people with low vision and early pathology, then it doesn't work that way anymore. So then they might refer to the hospital if there's any treatment available. If it's things like dry AMD, then not much they can do about it. The hospital says, sorry, keep taking the tablets and the vitamin supplements and, that's about it. But there's not anything they can do to improve things. So by the time the patient might arrive at the low vision clinic, they might be quite sad and dejected. So my job at the low vision clinic is to make the most of the vision that the patient still has. And it's often a reassurance, a boosting them up again, because they might be at quite a low ebb at this point. And low vision I would define as a state of vision that it impacts on their daily life, but they may not be to the point of registration. So I think there's quite an opportunity for low vision clinics. We have a lot of charities and all this for the blind, and then you have the optometrists and the opticians for those that can see and can wear specs. But there's a huge number of people in that middle bracket where their vision has deteriorated, it's not good enough for their daily life, but they're not so bad to be registered as blind. And that's the benefit of the low vision clinic. Quite often, you can give them a variety of low vision aids, and it will solve the problem. It will enable them to do their daily tasks. Yes, I think one is chatting through all their pathologies, explaining why their spectacles don't work anymore, applying your low vision aids, teaching them how to use them correctly, and then hopefully job done. I always leave my contact details with them because obviously they're generally elderly, things are going to get worse, but at least they know that I'm there, I'm always on the end of the phone, and if they want to see me again for stronger power magnifiers, things like that, we can easily make a further appointment. The clinics run under the hospital eye service, so the low vision aids are given on a loan basis, so there's no charges or anything like that. So it's really an ideal situation.
Yeah, okay. And you mentioned obviously things like the low vision assessment, sort of, yeah, what's involved in that? Sort of what are the sort of, how does that work?
So I would start, I always like folks to come with their spectacles and their prescription from the optician. That's my starting point. Some people may say that as a low vision practitioner or dispensing optician, I can't refract, for a spectacle prescription. But I don't really need to. I know they can't see with their glasses, that's why they come. So it's really, initial things are the pathology, what the patient's needs are. That's very important. Now, what I might think they want to do and what they want to do might be two different things. So discussing their living situation. I mean, there's quite a difference between someone who was living on their own and perhaps widowed or, no immediate family, to someone who's living in a care home. So, what are your daily needs? And hobbies as well, because some people have great interest in their hobby. It keeps their mind active, it keeps them alive. Also, it keeps them sociable as well. Somebody once said to me, well, should I still go to bowls? I said, well, of course you should go to bowls. Why not? I can't see the scoreboard at the end of the field. So, well, we got a monocular for that. Anyway, so, what are their actual needs? What's their living situation? Things like that. Then I will measure their vision with and without their spectacles. The spectacles issue is a hard one because they say, oh, they're no good. Well, I've thrown them away. But often you need the spectacles in place to give them the best possible vision. And the low vision aids are used in conjunction with the spectacles, not instead of.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's a really important point to get home. Then we look at various low vision aids, we try them out, we see what's achieved, and then hopefully we get a big smile because they're able to get down to the print that they never thought they would. And then we will decide what the patient should take away with them. I do hold a good stock, and 99.9% of the time I will issue a low vision aid on the day. That's quite important because I don't want them, if you send it on a week later, they've forgotten what you said. I want to see them in the morning and I want them to be using it in the afternoon. That's the way it's got to be.
Yep.
So hopefully they go off with their low vision aids with instructions. And quite often I would like to arrange a follow-up appointment, and that's really to see how they've been getting on, what worked, what didn't. However, with time constraints and lack of appointments in the NHS system, I generally find that if I just give them my contact details, we have a telephone conversation in a few weeks' time, that's generally sufficient. I leave it up to them now. I say, if you want to see me, just give me a ring and I'll make an appointment. The other couple of little things that we do is put them in contact with other agencies. Now that might well be the local charities. In Norfolk, I've got the Norfolk Association for the Blind. I'm on the borders of Cambridgeshire, so I've got campsite in Cambridgeshire, and even sometimes my patients come from Lincolnshire, so I've got the charities up there. But quite often they can do a home visit to see if there's any gadgetry that the patients would benefit from in their home. And again, especially for those who are living on their own, it's just another line of support, which is really helpful. So I do work very closely with them. I often refer to them and they often refer back to me. So, you know, I've got to know them quite well over the years. That's very helpful.
Excellent. So in say like during a low vision assessment, if you find that say somebody needs something that's going to help them with the vision, so you mentioned there like the bowls, but then maybe she wants to be able to sort of read at home as well. Yeah. Again, can they get, if they've got kind of multiple things that they're looking to achieve, is that something that I know it's a little bit of a postcode lottery, but can the hospital, given the right postcode, can they provide them with, multiple kind of aids to help them with their daily life?
Yeah, well, I do. I mean, I'm very, very fortunate where I am at present, and I'm the only low vision practitioner in the hospital. And I think they probably look at it as a bit of a dark art almost. I'm not quite sure they know what I'm up to. I think that the patient has come to me with those needs, and I have got to address all those needs. And quite often they will go out with 2, maybe 3 low vision aids, and that includes filters, you know, sun filters, perhaps a hand magnifier, stand magnifier, or something like that. And yes, all their needs have to be addressed. I'm conscious of the budget, of course, and I can hand on heart say I can justify everything I give to a patient. If things are getting a bit more complex, then quite often I'll say, well, look, take a hand magnifier and a filter now, and then we'll meet again. I will make a further appointment for them, and then we'll discuss the other issues. I'm quite conscious of the fact that nobody likes to be late to their appointments in hospital. But, you know, 40 minutes, 45 minutes is my initial appointment time. So that's quite a time to get through. And I don't think you want to overload the patient in too much information, you know.
Yeah.
Come up with something. And then when they come back in 3 or 4 weeks' time, I say, this is brilliant, or I didn't use that. So because they're on loan, you can swap things about. That's fine. And go from there.
Okay.
So, yes, I would quite invariably, as long as I'm sure they're going to be used.
Yes. Yeah.
More than 1 low vision aid. Yes.
Okay. And also, obviously, you mentioned about sort of dispensing opticians, and they seem to be sort of a group that we have a lot of dealings with. Is there anything sort of particular that makes them suitable to be kind of like low vision practitioners? You know, I suppose what's the reason why there's so many DOs that are involved in this sort of field?
Right. I think low vision is a great spot for a dispensing optician. Firstly, we understand the pathology because we've trained, we know all about that. We understand spectacles and optics. So moving on to low vision aid, magnifiers, telescopes, it's all what we're familiar with. So a lot of low vision work is being able to talk to the patient and, you know, get on their wavelength and explain why things work and why things sometimes don't work.
Yes.
Especially with their fancy specs that they've just spent a rather lot of money on or something. That can get a little bit bit difficult, tricky sometimes to answer. But we understand all the aspects, and as dispensing opticians, we've also been very used to dealing directly with patients one-to-one. You know, I do think it's good. It's not like an eye test. You do these things, you diagnose, you refer, and that's it. You know, it's dispensing opticians are very sort of social people. Not that optometrists aren't, but it's just that we do deal with lots of things in a general practice, and low vision's really easy to get into for dispensing opticians.
Okay.
You need to know perhaps how to refract. You need to be able to spot when something's not right with their specs. I mean, some people read very well and then be awful on the Snellen chart. So you think, well, is this a myope that we've missed somewhere along the line? And then you question them, when did you last go to the opticians? Oh, about 10 years ago, you know.
Yes, yeah.
Right, let's go back to the optician first, get them to do the refraction and the sight test, and then we'll meet again and carry on from there.
Yeah,
Funny enough, had a young man who I don't see many young people actually. But this young man said, well, do you think glasses will help? I said, well, when was the last time you went to the opticians? Oh, yes, the old 10 years ago. Well, I suggest you go down that route, you know. First, you know, don't forget to check the basics.
Yes.
So again, that's where a dispensing optician is very good at seeing the whole picture, not just one aspect. So yeah, I think we're good at it.
No, I would agree. I mean, it must be the case because, like I said, there's so many of you in the industry, and I suppose I'm going to play a little bit of devil's advocate here, but quite often we'll get people that will speak to us directly, and they maybe have no idea that low vision clinics sort of even exist. So I'm just kind of curious what your opinion is on the reasons why somebody might not know that the low vision clinics exist, and what your thoughts are.
Yeah, and I quite agree with you there. I mean, the number of people who have sat there and said, well, I didn't realise anything like this existed. You know, I think, oh, where have I been? And I do blame the industry to some extent because, you know, every optician should know where their nearest low vision clinic is. If they don't want to do it themselves, which I can understand why, you know, it's quite time consuming. I can understand why it's not a major part of a general high street optical practice. But if you don't want to do it, then you should know how to pass somebody on. Not just send them away and said, oh, well, my optician said that's the strongest specs I can have, and that's it. No, there is a low vision clinic, and they ought to know where it is. Yes, okay, there's not many of us, but there's enough of us. So I think it's, and even on the GOS 18 form, come on, there's a box that says refer to low vision. So
right, yeah.
Really, GPs, I can understand that they're not quite so familiar with low vision, but I have done many talks to GP practices, and yes, they take it on board, and once they know I'm there, they're very keen to refer. So I think it's general advice. Again, with the charities, the Norfolk and Norwich Association for the Blind often refer back to me, but I got a bit bureaucratic really, because said, well, how do we get people back to you, Annette? How do we do it? I said, well, isn't there a system? You know, there's got to be a system, isn't there? They said, no. Yep. So I invented a form. I said, right, we have, just make a request to the patient's GP to refer them to my clinic. Now, every GP in the country has a computer system with all the clinics in the hospitals on the system. So all he has got to do is bring up the hospital, click on ophthalmology, click on low vision, ping, and there we are, that's an appointment made. Simple as that. Yep. So I made a little form up that the community workers at the charity carry around with them, and it just puts patient name and address, their doctor, ask the patient to sign it, requesting an appointment, and then they can just hand it into the GP surgery, and hopefully the secretary will make the appointment. And
excellent.
That's very well for the last few years.
Yeah, wow. Well, I should probably. So
you know, rather than me leaving flyers and cards around, you know, I've made up flyers that say just ask your GP to make you an appointment.
Yeah, so it's more of a proactive approach. Because I mean, I may as well ask you, what's your kind of suggestion on how we can make sort of more people in the society aware? Because obviously you're just in one geographical area, and I know this is the whole thing that it can be, I've already mentioned it, but like a postcode lottery type thing. But what other things do you think could be implemented to make sort of more people aware of low vision clinics and get more from them, as it were?
I mean, I think hopefully building up the contacts between people like myself and the charities so that they're aware, they can phone me, you know. I mean, I've had people, friends of friends, phone up and say, well, can I have an appointment? And literally, I just take their name and address, and I email my clerk at the hospital and say, put them on my list, will you? Simple as that. People like yourself, you know, making people aware there are low vision clinics. So the manufacturers, the companies like yourselves, you know, being aware that there are low vision clinics, and primarily the opticians, because that's where the difficulties tend to start. You know, somebody has a problem with their eyesight, where do they go? The optician. And that's the call. So I think primarily it's got to be the optical practices. Secondly, the charities. and thirdly, perhaps manufacturers, folks like yourself.
Yeah, I think that's the thing.
Yeah.
There's a big part of it is I was sort of reading a book recently about things being fixing problems before they happen. I suppose you could say it's almost like fixing the problems upstream, because I think for most people, the optician is going to be the first thing that they see, and then, or it might be the GP, but that's the thing. There seems to, my opinion is, I think people like ourselves, obviously the doctors, sort of opticians, and really trying to make people aware, because I think the low vision sort of field, it can be a little bit kind of insular. If you're talking about, say, like societies, it may be that the people that are members are kind of advocates and sort of, they know a lot about this kind of stuff already, but there's so many people in the population that simply don't know. And I suppose the thing is, it's kind of how to solve that. But I think you've got a good plan, and I like your form idea. That's good.
I mean, I went and did a talk to the local Macular Society group, and I received sort of at least two. Well, one lady was my patient already, and two other ladies said, "Well, can't I come to you?" I said, "Well, of course you can." Well, I never knew. Well, that's at the Macular Society.
Yeah.
There they were, sort of struggling with tatty old cheap magnifiers, you know. So I said, "Oh, just give me your name and address, and I'll put you on my list," you know. So I do sort of go direct sometimes, rather than all round houses. But it's just nice with the GPs. At least you keep their own GP in the loop, and they know what's going on. You know, I think it's quite important that the GP is aware what's going on with the patient themselves. But I think, you know, people struggle on not realising it's there, as you're saying. And again, the opticians, if their spectacles don't work for them, they'll go back to the optician and say, "Well, I still can't see well enough." And the optician, "Oh, well, well, perhaps we'll change these, we'll change that." And they may not feel that the patient's vision is bad enough to go to the low vision clinic.
Yes.
And the same, even some of the consultants at the hospital, they assume perhaps that, you know, you've got to be practically blind before you go to the low vision clinic. And that's not the case. I need the patients really early, you know, early AMD patients. Those who have got little problems is fine, because they're the easiest to sort out in a way.
Yes. Yeah.
And one consultant at the Queen Elizabeth is very good at passing them on to me. And sometimes I see a patient before they really need me, but I'd far rather it that way, because you know it's going to get worse if it's AMD. And at least the patient has had the contact. And I say, well, we might talk about lighting, where you hold your book. And sometimes that's another little thing. The opticians have perhaps given them a high reading prescription. I say, but you do know that you've got to hold it right up here. No, nobody told me that. Simple things that a dispensing optician, because they know that a +4 ad is going to have a 25 centimetre working distance, then they know, why can't I put it on my knees? And then you can go into more explanation about why that won't work.
Yes.
So little things like that. So you might cure them with being able to use their current reading specs, put the light on, and that's all right for now. But then as things deteriorate, you know, years down the line, at least they've got my contact, and they think, oh, well, if it gets a bit worse, I can go back to Annette and she can give me a magnifier or something like that. So I'd rather see people earlier, and then they won't have all that worry.
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
A lot of the time is reassuring them that we can do something. And the ones I can't do anything for know that anyway, you know. Yes,
yeah, absolutely.
But now with all the sort of audio low vision aids and things like that, well, all those have come along, you know. So there's what we can do. And even sometimes and then it goes on to, sorry, I'm drifting on a bit, aren't I?
That's all right.
You know, registration, should we register someone or not? It's really up to the ophthalmologist to do that. But, you know, they're busy people, and they've got more important things to do than fill forms in. So quite often, if it's a patient from within the hospital, I'll discuss the registration, get the forms filled in, just send it up to the office for the ophthalmologist to sign. So, we've saved a lot of time for the ophthalmologist. We've saved an appointment in the eye clinic,
Yep.
and the job's got done, and the patient
Yep.
will get their support because they're now registered.
Yeah.
So, you know, again, you're a bit of, in the low vision clinic, you're sort of got many strands to your bow.
Yep. Yeah. No, it sounds like it.
Things, but the end product must be that the patient is happier. And my little mantra is they've got to go out happier than when they came in.
Excellent. Yeah, I like that.
If you've done that, that's a good job done.
Brilliant.
So you've got to make the most of their vision, give them appropriate aids, sort out any other issues like registration, contact with charities, make sure they're happy in their home, and then generally that solved most things. I can't make them see better. I can't give sight to the blind, but you can do an awful lot of other things.
Yeah, absolutely. Sort of making the most of the vision that they do have, kind of thing.
And quite a lot of the time, and that's where the training to use the aid properly comes in. As you well know, you get to high magnifiers and the field of view is very small. I do spend quite a bit of my time with one hand behind the patient's head and the other on the hand magnifier and pushing the two together. We're not comfortable, but it works, you know.
And
if somebody's got to read that telephone number on a piece of paper, it's the difference between I can do it or I can't do it.
Absolutely.
You know, can I read my own post? You know, things like that.
I think
my daughter to come in. Well, perhaps poor old daughter who works away or lives miles away, and you don't want your neighbour reading all your post, perhaps, you know, or your bank statement or something. Little things like that can make an awful lot of difference. Many strands to the low vision clinic.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate your time, and thanks for giving us such detailed answers, because that's the thing. It is certainly, in my experience, that has to be like the biggest thing. I mean, not just the low vision clinics. I mean, it can be even organisations and so on, that people are just simply not aware. On the sort of few times that we'll maybe get mainstream coverage of products that we offer, you'll often get people that will say, "Oh, I've never seen anything like this before," and it's kind of you sort of think, well, again, going back to what I was saying before, really the problem kind of needs to be addressed upstream as opposed to waiting until somebody just sees something on This Morning with Dr. Chris or whatever. So that's good. Excellent.
And even, you know, thinking from your point of view, I know you do I only carry the very small electronic magnifiers. I mean, I've got a big enough boot in my car as it is. There is a limit. You know, if somebody wants a larger item, then I put them in contact with you, and your reps go around and see them. And because you know, we know each other very well, I know it's not some hard selling salesman who's going to batter my little old lady into buying something. You know, I can trust you to go and do the visit, and everyone's happy.
Absolutely. I think I need to pass that mantra on to everybody. The leaving the customers happy. I think that's the thing. At the end of the day, I mean, I think that probably sums the whole thing up. Yeah, if somebody can leave a lot happier than they were when they came in, I think that's a good thing, because obviously we've not really talked about too much, but it's, although you did at the start, the sort of emotions are there when somebody's gone through, especially if they've gone through sort of with an optician and they've kind of said, look, there's nothing really more we can do, and then they've managed to find their way sort of through your door, and then all of a sudden their kind of world can be reopened again, like you say, not necessarily giving them the sight back, but just with like say modest devices, you can really give people their independence, which is kind of what it's all about. You know, I've
had people, especially ladies, you know, we do have a few tears in the low vision clinic, not from me, the patients generally, you know, in delight of, oh, well, I didn't think there was anything that could help me, you know, oh, I can see this, and they get all excited, and you know.
Brilliant. Yeah, it's the job satisfaction part. That's the best thing. That's the thing that I like most about this industry is that, you can really make a difference, and that's the thing for a lot of people. It's not uncommon to talk to somebody that's maybe not been able to read for 5-10 years or whatever, and all of a sudden you introduce something like, say, really kind of simple, and then it kind of changes their life. So that's great.
I think that, you know, a lot of us, well, you know, the older population, yes, we're all getting older and all the rest of it, but often it's you know, somebody's a carer for their husband or wife, and then their sight starts going, and they're the ones that are really stuck. I had a wonderful gentleman come in to me once, and he came with his wife, and bless him, his wife had a severe case of dementia, and she just sat on a chair, as she was told to, staring at the wall. And he said to me, I just want to see enough to be able to care for my wife. I thought, oh,
wow.
you know, if you can do that, you know,
yeah,
that made my day.
yeah, that is good. It's nice. That's what it's all about. More stories like that is the better. So yeah, great stuff. Excellent. Well, I will let you carry on with your day, and thank you again. Really appreciate it, and no doubt we'll speak again soon.
Yeah, lovely. Thanks very much for the opportunity. Nice to see you.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.